Hello there everybody, it's Tom Lynch here with highscorereviews.com and welcome to a quick look stroke impressions video. Is I think what I'm going to go for. Quick look stroke impressions video for Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. It's been a long time coming, this one, for Metal Gear fans. I picked this game up once I returned from my travels in Greece. It came out while I was away on September 1st. I think I picked it up around about September 12th. So it was out kind of a week or so before I got my hands on it, so I'm a bit late to the party here in terms of Metal Gear videos and discussions and what have you, but I thought I'd give you my initial impressions so far of the Phantom Pain. I'm about 8% through the game, so I've merely scratched the surface, but here we are as Big Boss in Mother Base, which is kind of your central base of operations in the Phantom Pain, one of your main objectives in the Phantom Pain. For people who are familiar with Peace Walker, who have played Peace Walker, and what that entails, and this is pretty much the same thing, but in glorious HD, basically. So essentially, one of Big Boss's main objectives here is to build out his own private military power and force, free from any control of any country. He's kind of defected away from America, and if you've played Snake Eater then you'll know why, but that's kind of discussed in the Phantom Pain, so you don't really need to know that. But yeah, Mother Base, the whole idea is to expand Mother Base and build it out by developing different struts and bringing in more soldiers from the battlefield, and building your own big private military power. As I said before, you did it in Peace Walker, but spoilers for the end of Ground Zeroes, that gets blown up by Cypher and led by Skullface, and kind of Phantom Pain's main narrative thread is about finding out who Cypher and Skullface are, and Zero and all the rest of it, which you'll learn if when you play through the Phantom Pain. But as you saw there briefly on the iDroid, on the iDroid's map, you saw the different struts coming off from the two main central command platforms, and those are different struts you can build for the different departments of Mother Base. So like I have one R&D platform, one support platform, one intel platform, and one medical platform, and you can build up to 4 of each. And obviously the more you build, the more that particular department will level up, and the more you'll be able to do. So the more your R&D team level up, the more weapons and items and things you can develop and you can take out with you into the battlefield. And obviously you can rank those up by bringing in better soldiers from the battlefield, but of course when you bring in more soldiers you have to expand Mother Base, so you have to make sure you have enough materials to build more struts and accommodate for the people you bring in from Afghanistan. So as you can see here, I've called in a chopper to take us out to Afghanistan. I think I've found a side op that we're going to tackle here. So yeah, that was a nice look at Mother Base. Got a few stats there, and after a very brief loading time, the loading times aren't substantial to what you might expect. We're going to jump into a side ops mission here. Diamond Dogs is the name of your force, if you're wondering. So yeah, here we are. Overall completion 8%, which is baffling considering how many hours I've put in. So yeah, there's a few cassette tapes here you can listen to, which gives you a bit of backstory in terms of what's happening in Afghanistan at the moment. Summaries after certain missions and things, and it's probably the most you'll hear Big Boss speak. He's a very silent protagonist in this game. So if you want to hear Keith Sutherland and picture Jack Bauer in your head, but you know, looking at Big Boss, then you know, jump into those cassette tapes, because that's probably the most you'll hear him. So as you can see here, yeah, we've identified a side up, and we're going to choose a landing zone kind of near the side up to commence the mission. So here is the kind of the pre mission loadout selection screen, if you will, where you can change your primary weapons, secondary weapons, your items and tools and things. So here I think I'm changing my stun arm to my bionic arm, the one you originally start with. So I think you can distract enemies with the bionic arm, whereas the stun arm you can kind of electrify people and things. I don't think I use that much. But yeah, your different items, your different tools, like your cardboard box, your night vision goggles, your grenades, decoys, that sort of thing. Here is your buddy. Now you can choose which buddy to take out with you into battle. I only have D-Horse at the minute, kitted out in some battle dress. I have no vehicles that I haven't extracted yet with the Photon device, which is the device you get very, very early on in the game that allows you to extract soldiers and things, and you can rank it up to extract you know, anti-air guns, vehicles, and big kind of containers of resources. So as you can see here, yeah, you can choose which uniform Snake wears. Since we're infiltrating under the cover of night, I thought we'd go with the sneaking suit, but obviously when you're out in daytime missions, it's probably wise to use the more you know, the desert camouflage. Even though it's not as important as in Snake Eater, the whole camouflaging and blending into your environment. You know, in Snake Eater that was a very heavy part of the gameplay, and it was tracked via a percentage meter in the top right corner. It's kind of advised in a description that you kind of will blend in more with sand and soil if you wear this particular suit. So you can go for it if you want. I don't know if it affects how well the enemies see you, but yeah, it might be wise to do so. So yeah, we're infiltrating under the cover of night in this side up, and I think the objective is to extract a prisoner who might be highly skilled in some respects. So here we're arriving in northern Afghanistan, and if you haven't noticed already, which you probably will notice as we jump into the kind of the meat of the Phantom Pain, you know, the gameplay, if you will. You know, the game is stunning. It really is stunning. It's beautiful. The Fox engine is remarkable at times. You know, the lighting and the character models are superb. I think you notice it more during the daytime, but still, it's impressive whenever you play it, really. So here, D-Horse is waiting for us. I'm going to infiltrate this enemy stronghold here and try and extract this prisoner. I think I have to accept some daily rewards here, but here you can see briefly on the screen there, it shows you how many people are occupying your different teams. So I think I had 43 out of 45 in the R&D team, so I really have to be selective about who I'm extracting. Early on in the game, you know, you don't really care about who you're extracting. You just want to build out Mother Base, but of course, you know, if you're struggling on materials and don't really have the right amount to expand Mother Base at the moment, then, you know, you really have to be selective in terms of who you're extracting to Mother Base, because, I mean, you can go ahead and extract as many people as you want. They will sit in the waiting room, and you can jump into the staff management and assign maybe a better skilled soldier that you have with another soldier. But I kind of just like to build out Mother Base first, and then go ahead and extract some soldiers. Yeah, so here we've left D-Horse, and we're going to try and extract this soldier. Oh, the little the red circles on the map there which you can see are provided by my intel team. And what your intel team does is moles are kind of planted throughout Afghanistan, and they kind of feed you information. So those circles there are the kind of rough locations of particular enemies, and the more you increase the level of your intel team, the more accurate the information. But as you can see there, the more traditional way of identifying the enemies is just, you simply just whip out your binocular and you look at them, and they are highlighted on your map then. And what you probably notice as well is the binocular scans enemies, and that will reveal their kind of skill level in different areas. So as you could see there, that particular soldier was graded D in R&D, and different grades in other areas. So that's your way of determining how skilled certain soldiers are, and again will influence who you extract here. So we've had a few more soldiers join the battle here from the truck. I think we're going to we found an opportunity here to maybe pick off a few guards before we make our way over to the main objective. So yeah, in terms of the open world of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, I think myself and a lot of die-hard Metal Gear fans were a bit skeptical about the open world at first. I think a lot of traditional Metal Gear fans are still a bit miffed about the open world. They very much preferred the clandestine, claustrophobic, corridor nature of the previous Metal Gear games. But yeah, I was a bit skeptical about how the open world would lend itself to the Metal Gear gameplay. Whether it would be that populated and that dense in a way. It's Kojima's first shot at open world, I guess, in terms of a Metal Gear game. It's set in Afghanistan. Is there really going to be a lot to it? But what you'll notice straight away when you jump into the Phantom Pain is that the way it's been designed and crafted is that it all feels not drastically different, but it feels different enough that it's not repetitive. Besides the little checkpoints on the roads and things, each enemy kind of base feels different in terms of its aesthetic and design, and that even extends to like the Afghan mountains and things. Like the terrain and that differs. Like there might be one enemy stronghold where there's a big mountain to the right that you can ascend up and get like a nice perch kind of vantage point to scope out your enemies, whereas others will just literally there enough be flat, and you'll have to kind of scout out your enemies in a different way. So yeah, it's all been designed very well in the sense that it's the location, the environments never feel repetitive, and of course as I said earlier, the game is beautiful. So yeah, what you saw there is a photon extraction. I'm not sure why I extracted that enemy there, but it's a nice way of disposing of bodies to reduce that risk of enemy soldiers finding bodies. And before that, I kind of chokeholded some enemies and interrogated them for some information. I got to the exact location of the prisoner. Another soldier, upon interrogation, revealed some blueprints for me, which is an option I could go for during this mission. I could find those blueprints. They might prove worthwhile. Like it might be a blueprint for a weapon or an item, for example, but you don't have to. But yeah, and then I had the option to strangle them or to kill them, and largely I will strangle them and knock them out. I always kind of opt for the non-lethal approach because of extracting the enemies and things. But when I'm back at Mother Base, when it's looking a bit crowded, I'm not necessarily so concerned about the non-lethal approach. Yeah, as you can see here, I've kind of got spotted by one of the guys on the searchlights, and he's going to rush over to my location, because he's like, what the hell? What the hell was that? So yeah, that was a bit poor on my part there. He's going to come over to my location, try and sniff me out, and I think here I kind of mess up. I mess up here, I think. But the beauty of the Phantom Pain is that when you mess up, you have a chance to rectify your mistakes. As you can see here, it goes into what they call reflex mode. You get a brief window when everything slows down to, you know, neutralize the enemy that spotted you, and, you know, continue on your stealthy infiltration without it jumping into alert phase. And yeah, that's another perk of the open world, and why I think the open world lends itself so well to the Metal Gear gameplay. And the Metal Gear formula is, you know, previously in other Metal Gear games, you know, because it was also enclosed, when I got spotted by the enemies, it kind of felt like game over. You know, I had nowhere to go. I would run into the enemies, let them kill me, and, you know, or restart it from the previous checkpoint, because I didn't feel like I had another option, really. Whereas the Phantom Pain, since it's in the open world, you know, if you get spotted, you know, it feels so natural to just continue the game and continue the gameplay and just adapt on the fly, which is something the game very much encourages you to do. So, and you know, you have those brief windows there to rectify your mistake. In the reflex mode, you can turn that off if you're, you know, a die-hard Metal Gear fan. But, you know, even if you are spotted, it just feels so natural because you're in this open world space. You know, you can go out and, you know, flee the enemy's line of sight and maybe come back at it a different way later, or you can just hide for a bit and, you know, flank the enemies and you know, take them out that way. You know, the open world just gives you so many more options. You know, it sounds like a cliche, but, you know, it does in this sense. So yeah, I found a few materials here, and I've kind of made my way to the left and the left perimeter of the base. I could have went in a different way, but I've decided to scope out the left here and infiltrate. But in terms of kind of my general impressions of the game so far, is the main thing I've taken away from the hours I've sunk into the Phantom Pain is that I'm just so like concerned and invested in building Mother Base. Like, that's always on the forefront of my mind, and it's not necessarily overshadowing the story, but I don't really care about the story as much as building Mother Base. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's, you know, it's an important part of the Phantom Pain, but, you know, I just can't help like feel that, you know, that being, you know, on the forefront of my mind is kind of detracting from the story. I mean, it's not necessarily detracting the story. I mean, a lot of critics and, you know, die-hard Metal Gear fans have said that, you know, the story of the Phantom Pain is lacking the Metal Gear-ness, if you will, of other Metal Gear stories. You know, there are a few you know, plot twists and surprises. You know, I can't really comment on that since I, you know, haven't got that far in the story yet, but, you know, those are in there. But, you know, for fans of the Metal Gear franchise, you know, there are no, you know, there's no Sniper Wolf moment, for example. You know, when she delivers that kind of emotional speech before she dies. You know, there's no Psycho Mantis boss fight. There's no the end boss fight from Snake Eater, for example. You know, it's a very, I wouldn't say generic, but it's a Metal Gear story that people weren't expecting. I guess it's not the traditional Metal Gear story, which I think for me personally, being someone that hasn't grown up with the Metal Gear Solid franchise and has only recently been established to it and not necessarily invested in it as heavily as some people, that's fine. Like the story is engrossing enough, you know, and engaging enough for me to want to continue, for me to find out, you know, who Skullface is and who these different characters are and their motivations, etc. But I think I'm, you know, every time I go into these main story missions, you know, I have the objective in mind, of course, but I'm always just like scouring the location for materials. I've got in the back of my mind like, oh, I'm 1,000 fuel. I'm 1,000 points of fuel away from building a new strut, a new R&D platform. Let's scope out the area for some materials. I'm looking through and identifying these different soldiers, and I spot one that's like rank B across the board. And I'm like, oh, he'll, you know, I need him for Mother Base. I need him to, you know, he'll be a vital part of Mother Base, and will rank up, you know, wherever I place him, for example. I always have those sort of things in mind. Like Mother Base is always on the agenda, so to speak. The kind of you know, the mission objective and why I'm here somewhat becomes overshadowed, but not drastically, really. So as you can see here, things have kind of gone tits up. A lot of people have spotted me. I went to shoot that guy there in the head. The tranquilizer round had bounced off his helmet, and he's just like, he shot me with a shotgun. Everyone's alerted to my presence, and you know, it's now turned into a full frontal assault. For some reason, I pick up this guy's body and just leg it. I just run out the building. I don't know if I thought I've got the prisoner here, and I make it outside the building, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't the prisoner. He's still back in the base. But yeah, this is kind of evidence here, and I'm really kind of glad this happened when I was recording this. This showcases the dynamic nature of Metal Gear if you let it. Like the die-hard people who, like if this was a main mission, for example, you know, you get graded after each mission based on your performance. You don't get heavily penalized for, you know, getting spotted, for example, but you do get more points that equate to a better rank if, you know, it's a perfect stealth, for example, and you don't trigger reflex mode is another one. The people that want to platinum this game, you know, that are perfectionists will, of course, you know, if they get spotted, may run into the enemies and get killed and strive for that S rank. But I think for me, like early on, I was in that mind frame, having played the previous Metal Gears recently. I was in that mind frame, like, oh, I'm spotted, it's game over. But now, like, as I begin to learn, not necessarily learn, but as I begin to realise, you know, how different the Phantom Pain is, and I begin to realise, you know, that the game encourages you to adapt on the fly. I've just let the game happen, if you will. If I get spotted, then okay, what do I need to do now? You know, can I dispose of these enemies, or, you know, do I have to flee and maybe call in some more ammo, or request a different weapon and come in and deal with this a different way? Like here, I've infiltrated the base the same way, which probably wasn't smart. I could have gone round and come in from a different angle and got the flank on these guys and pick them off, but I think I'm so concerned at the minute about extracting the soldier. But being surrounded constantly by these Soviet soldiers, it's not looking good for Big Boss. And yeah, all this is fine because, you know, the moment-to-moment gameplay, the core gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 5 is just so good. That's what I think Kojima has focused on the most. You know, he's looked at the complaints from Metal Gear Solid 4, even though I haven't played it, but I'm aware that, you know, it's renowned for its very dense and lengthy cutscenes. He's probably looked at the concerns and criticism about Metal Gear Solid 4, and he's went, okay, you know, people actually want to play the game. So he is focused on the gameplay, and, you know, in the Phantom Pain, you know, gameplay is king. Not only is this the best Metal Gear game I've played in terms of gameplay. It's probably the best like third-person stealth action infiltration game I've played, like, period. Like, the shooting is responsive, it's fine, can't fault it at all. You can go into first person, as you can see here, and pick guys off. You know, the guns feel responsive and fine and all the rest of it. The fact that you just snap into cover instantly, you don't have to press a button. You know, going from crouching to prone, all that feels so natural and so smooth. You know, the gameplay is just undoubtedly so fun and so precise, so well executed that, you know, you don't feel like it's hindering you in any way. Like in the previous Metal Gear games, you know, you might make a certain mistake, or you might peek out cover, you know, at the wrong time, for example. But, you know, this time around, you know, the gameplay has been so well constructed that, you know, it's very much the probably the best part about Phantom Pain, really. And that's why I think, me personally, you know, not focusing so heavy on the story this time around and making sure, you know, the gameplay is so fun, especially being in an open world environment. I think, you know, that's one of the resounding positives of the Phantom Pain. So here I've managed to get the prisoner. As you've probably noticed, I was being surrounded by Soviet soldiers. It didn't look good for Big Boss. You know, even though I'm playing as the best soldier ever to grace the battlefield, you know, the situation wasn't looking good for Big Boss. So I just thought, you know what, let's call in some air support. And the chopper comes in and, you know, just rains down some Gatling gun fire on these foes. And, you know, it really felt like an action movie moment. You know, it started off as an infiltration mission, you know, during nightfall. You know, it was intended to be a stealth operation, but like any other action movie, it goes tits up, it gets spotted, and, you know, it evolves and unfolds into an intense firefight. And, you know, I call in a chopper, and there's Gatling gun fire everywhere, there's blood, and it wasn't necessarily explosions, but yeah, it really felt like a you know, an end to an action film. And those are the sort of experiences you may face in the Phantom Pain. And even if you do, you know, missions perfectly stealth and you're never spotted, you know, it feels so satisfying. But that's kind of the main thing I'm taking away from the Phantom Pain, is that, you know, it's really encouraging to see that you know, you're not punished so heavily anymore for you know, failing stealth. You know, you have the ability now, and the environment and the tools, and, you know, the gameplay is so well constructed that you have all those things at your disposal to adapt to the new situation and continue on with the gameplay. So yeah, as you can see, how I extracted the soldier. The chopper took some pretty heavy fire. It went to an extraction point, called on D-Horse, and now I make the ride back to the chopper, to the evac zone. Big Boss here is blooded. He needs to get back to Mother Base, shower off, get refreshed, and, you know, approach the next mission in Afghanistan. But yeah, you can choose, you know, where to call the chopper. But obviously, you want to call it quite local to your current location. So yeah, that was essentially a quick look and my initial impressions of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. As I mentioned previously, I've only scratched the surface here of the Phantom Pain, but so far, you know, I highly recommend this to anyone that's thinking about picking it up. Even if, you know, you've never played a Metal Gear game before, the story is nowhere near as dense and as heavy as previous Metal Gear stories. So I've heard from reviews and things, and it's certainly not been that way so far. Everything you need to know is explained, and of course it's it's nice to know these characters and these familiar faces that are cropping up, but it's not required. The gameplay is king here in the Phantom Pain, and the gameplay is so good that the story won't be so overpowering to new players. The whole nature of building Mother Base is incredibly addictive, and you're just going to find yourself sinking hours and hours and hours into this game. So yeah, I thoroughly recommend it. I've been Tom Lynch with highscorereviews.com, and until next time, I will catch you guys later.